Well, hello, SNHU 107 students, and welcome to Week 7, Module 7 here in the SNHU 107 learning community. This week, we're going to talk about making sure you finish the term strong. Y'all, we just only have this week, Week 7, and then next week, Week 8, and you will be finished with your SNHU 107 class. We're going to talk about some tips for your success and how to assess how your term has gone, but then we're also going to do a real quick run through, just a reminder of where you find everything for your Module 7 assignments. As always, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email the OAC team at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. Webinar reminders, as always, anything with the learning community is considered an academic space, so always be mindful of your conduct. And these webinars are not required, they're not graded, there's no extra credit points, but I sure hope they're helping you from week to week understand your course content and material, and also showing you and giving you tips for success on completing your assignments for SNHU 107. So like I mentioned earlier, for this week's webinar, we want to talk about finishing strong. You only got a couple weeks left, so now is a perfect time of the term to kind of stop for a minute and think about how things have gone. So I want you for a moment just to consider, like, do you know how to assess yourself? Do you know kind of how to check in and see what's working, what's not, and any changes that you might need to make? A lot of times we don't like to do this. I know we're all busy. We got a whole lot of competing priorities out there, and you're probably like, Melanie, I don't have time for this. But I'm telling you, take 5-10 minutes. It's worth it. Because it can really help you identify some spaces in your schedule or things that you maybe want to improve upon, or how you can make sure that you're just going after your most successful term. So a self-assessment, y'all, is pretty easy. It's learning to ask ourselves those hard questions, remembering to stay positive, opening up those lines of communication, and taking action for our success. So asking the hard questions. This is where we tell ourselves the hard truths. So things that I want you to think about for this term. What is something or a couple of things that you did really well? Often it's really easy for us to be like, gosh, I struggled with my writing mechanics, or oh my gosh, I was always getting my assignments in like right by the bell. It's easy for us to pick ourselves apart and start with like all the negatives, but I want you to start with the positives. Like, what is something that you did well? Maybe you're getting a better grade than you thought. Maybe your writing mechanics look a little bit better than you thought they were going to. Maybe you have like that routine and you're feeling pretty comfortable, like in classes and outside the classroom too. So what is it? What did you do good? Maybe you're still here and that's a win. Adding school to a busy schedule is a lot. So if you're still here and still showing up, like, heck yes, that's a win. So think about what you're doing well. Think about what you've been strong in this term. And then consider, like, okay, if I had to pick like one or two things that I could do better, what are they? Or like, what is a couple of areas that you might want to improve? For most students, it tends to be like, I need to sit down and like make a calendar and like put my SNHU time, like homework time, on my schedule. Another one that's really common is students are like, I need to work with the academic support written feedback team, or maybe the tutoring team more this year, and get my assignments done a little bit earlier in the week so I have time to do that. So it just helps me with my grades. So you're just thinking about, like, what did you do well? Where were you strong? Maybe where you could do better or something you want to improve. And then what can you do about it, and who can help me, right? Well, that's where it comes in. Your attitude matters so much. We are not going to have a perfect term every term. We're just not. We're going to have some weeks that things are awesome. We're going to have some weeks that, man, they could be better. And we're going to have some weeks and terms that are just there in the middle. What matters the most is that you remember to believe in you. Believe in yourself. Believe that you are 100% worth this journey. Keep showing up. Those are such important characteristics and can really carry you all the way to the finish line. So don't forget about believing in yourself. You know that I talk a lot in the webinars every week about communicating for your success. Y'all, you are not alone on this journey. And here in SNHU 107, we've talked a lot about our SNHU resources. Remember, the departments, the people here at the university that are here for your success. Plus, a lot of you have support systems outside of the university, those social supports, right? Like those friends, those loved ones, coworkers, families, whatever it might be. But I want to remind you that if there are things that you wanted to work on and it's a university department that can help you, like maybe you need like an accountability partner, that might be great to check in with your advisor every other week and just make sure that things are going okay and assignments are being turned in okay and like you're feeling good about your classes. Let's connect with our SNHU advisor. Maybe you want to work on those writing mechanics, or maybe you're going to be taking a class like a math class or maybe English composition, and that's just not your strong suit. Line up the tutoring thing. So whatever it might be, there's so many ways for you to communicate for your success. Every single department here at the university, here at SNHU, you can email them. They all have email addresses. They all have phone numbers. You can set up appointments for your success. And then on the faculty side, from your classroom spaces, a lot of faculty will text message back and forth with students. You can always view that in your My Instructor area, like how they communicate, but it's a really great way to set yourself up for success. And if you've fallen behind this term in any of your classes, this is your reminder, like now is the time to try to get caught up or to turn in those assignments that maybe you missed. Reach out to your instructor, ask for a plan for your success. They can always say, no, you can't turn that in, but the answer is always no unless we ask. So advocate for yourself and your best term. Communicate for your success. As a reminder, here's that quick little list of all those SNHU resources and social supports that are inside and outside of our classroom spaces. Y'all, there is a team or a department here that can help you with all the things. And this is not a comprehensive list. Like, our financial services team is not on here, for example. Our financial literacy team is not on here, for example. But this is just kind of those heavy, quick hitters that a lot of students reach out to and connect for their success. It's just a reminder that you have so much support here. And then the biggest thing is too, is y'all, you are the one that matters the most. None of this matters if you aren't going to do something about it. You have to take action for your success. I love these quotes, like nothing changes if nothing changes. If you struggled with your writing mechanics, for example, or you struggled with your time management this term, but you don't do anything to change it, you're going to have the same results next term. Okay? Today is the day. What are we going to do about it? I encourage you, take 5 to 10 minutes, sit down for a minute and be like, all right, what went good this term? What am I so proud of? What is one or two things, just one or two couple things that I can maybe do better, right? And then how can I do that and who can help me? So what department can I connect with? Do I need to email somebody? Do I need to call somebody? And maybe everything here inside the classroom space, inside your SNHU world has been great. But maybe outside the classroom space, maybe that's where some things struggled. I've had students tell me before that they've had to like call a family meeting and sit down with the loved ones that live in their house and are like, hey, I need some support or I need some help. Maybe if older kids can help do laundry or dishes or dinner one night, or, just what is it that can be taken off somebody's plate? Like that was something they needed to accomplish that made a world of difference their next term. Maybe you've had a lot of work schedule changes, or maybe you changed jobs or things like that. So making sure you maybe sit down with your leadership team and be like, hey, like I'm going to school. These are some of the things I'm working on. If I'm on break, are you okay? If I'm doing my homework, or if things are slow, could I maybe be checking into my homework? There's always questions to ask about taking action for your success. And sometimes we assume that people know we're in school and they don't. So shout it from the rooftops, go after being your best self. And just remember, today's the day and you are 100% worth the energy and the effort to put things in place to achieve your academic goals. Okay. So this week here in week 7, module 7, there is an optional discussion board. I'm not going to call it an assignment because it's optional. You don't have to do it, but there's going to be a space in your module 7 that you're going to see this week where you have the opportunity to give feedback about the project. This is not a place where you would upload your project, okay? Don't do that. This is where maybe if you had tips for your success on how you put together your project or things you learned this term, or just like want to share kind of how you thought the term is going, that discussion is a non-graded space for you in module 7's discussion area. Okay, so it's an opportunity to give feedback, an opportunity to share some tips or tricks. It is not a space where you would put your final project. So when you see discussion, don't think it's graded because it's not. But I always love the feedback that students can give in there. But you do have that final project, which is what we have. So I'm going to share my screen with y'all just real quick and run you guys through a couple of things for module 7. So Like I said here with Module 7, when you go to Module 7, as always, you're going to see the introduction. You're going to see those resources for project support. Make sure you're clicking through all those. Click the blue, it gets where you want to go. But here's what I was talking about, that 7-1 student discussion, project discussion, non-graded. Again, not graded. Don't put your final project here, but this is just a space that is here for you to ask questions, share tips for writing, or discuss helpful time management or motivational strategies that helped you this term, okay? Your big assignment this week is that final project, which you guys have been working on all term long. So remember, click on guidelines and rubric, and when you do that, it opens up the whole overview of the assignment, the directions. It's going to list all the questions that are on the template. There's a lot of information here, but nothing's new, y'all. This is all stuff that you've already done, okay? Now, I do get the question a lot, like if it's a similar question, can I just copy and paste what I did in a previous week to answer it? My advice is make sure you read the questions closely because they're not exactly the same as the content you might have had in a previous week. And you want to make sure that you answer all the pieces and parts of the question accordingly. Might you have some similarities in what you said in a previous week on that topic in your Module 7 final project submission? Of course you might. However, don't just be copying and pasting unless, and we're going to talk more about this, about the mission and goals in a little bit. That's the only caveat to that. You want to make sure you pay attention to the questions because I've had students miss points because they didn't answer all pieces and parts of the question because they just assumed it was exactly like what they wrote in a previous module. Okay, so just know that. So with this project, you have all the questions, but you have a template again, just like we have had for all of our journal assignments so far this term. And when you click on that academic success plan template, click the blue, get you where you want to go. It's going to open up a blank document that you type right in. But what I wanted to point out is underneath supporting materials, you're going to see the project template here again. It's the same one as that's up underneath what to submit, but there's a project example. And the reason I wanted to point this out is because this is a great way for you to understand. It's not perfect, but it's a great way for you to understand what your submitted final project should look like and the amount of detail you should put in it for your success, okay? As always, don't forget to run through the rubric for this assignment. It literally is like your roadmap for success on how your instructor is going to grade you when you turn this in, okay? So let's take a look at that example. So again, under supporting materials, project example is right here at the top. That template is the same one that's right up here, okay? So don't stress yourself out about that. So here's the example. I'm going to run through it just quickly so that you understand kind of what this should look like. So you'll notice that a student turned this in, and this is how they answered the question. So question 1, identify a problem-solving technique or method you have used in a previous situation and explain how it helped you. How might problem-solving methods be different in diverse cultures or fields of work? And how can effective problem-solving help you in your academic journey? Do you notice there's 3 parts to that question? So this student decided that they're going to just bullet those out. And they're going to answer the first one, the second one, the third one, okay? So keep in mind, when it asks you to name something, like identify a problem-solving technique or method you have used in a previous situation, you want to make sure you identify it or name it, but then it also says, and explain how it helped you. Sometimes students miss that. They just list like, oh, I did trial and error. That's awesome. You're only going to get partial credit for that because you didn't answer the whole thing, okay? So this just kind of gives you an idea of how this should look and what it should look like. I cannot say it enough. Do not, y'all, copy and paste any pieces or part of this project verbatim. It is an automatic red flag for academic integrity issues, okay? This is just here as an example to be helpful and give you an idea of like what it should look like. Do not copy and paste it, but you'll know what yours should look like as you answer the questions, okay? Question 2, identify your learning style and explain how knowing or learning about your learning style helped support your success throughout the course. So 1, you'll notice again, this student named their learning style. My learning style is read/write learning style. And then they explained how knowing about their learning style helped them this term. Some of you might have multiple learning styles. That's fine. Name all of them and then explain, okay? Question 3, identify which of the 5 successful habits of an SNHU student have been most helpful for you throughout this course. So remember when we talked about the 5 successful habits of an SNHU student, you only need to pick 2 of them. If more of them, resonated with you, you can explain more than 2, but the minimum is you have to pick 2. So you'll notice that this student picked logging in early and reaching out for help. And then they explained how these habits help them. So this student logged in every Monday morning to make a plan for their week. And then when they got stuck, they reached out to their instructor. They watched learning community videos as an example. And then they explained like how that benefited them. Question 4. Explain how you will stay on track in your courses and overcome interruptions that may impact your schedule. So this is thinking ahead. So you're thinking about how you're going to stay on track. This student, for them, what works for them is they're going to make a to-do list every week so they know what's due inside and outside the class. And then as they think about their interruptions, this person's interruptions tend to be their kiddos. So they're going to try to do things when the kiddos maybe aren't home or maybe when they're asleep or otherwise occupied. Okay? So be yourself. Do not overthink this assignment. Be yourself. Really think about your reality. That is why we do this project, because a lot of students will take a look at this and be like, oh my gosh, I like have a plan to like keep me on track now. Like I understand the resources I need to use or the things I need to be thinking about. So keep that in mind as you answer these. Be yourself. Question 5, choose 2, 1, 2. Don't forget 2. Choose 2 SNHU resources. Remember, SNHU resources are the departments and people that are part of the university. Okay. And you're choosing 2 social supports. That is the people, places, organizations outside of the university. Okay. So you're choosing them, but then you're also going to indicate why these resources and social supports are key for your success. So you'll notice again, the student here put their resource number 1 was their instructor and explained. Resource number 2 is academic support and explained why. And then they had their partner and their best friend for their social supports. Again, 2 for each, 2 SNHU resources, 2 social supports, and then they gave the details as why they picked them. Okay. Questions 6 and 7. This is your personal academic mission statement and 3, everybody, 3 short-term academic goals. You wrote these back in week 4. Go back, look at your module 4, week 4 graded assignment for the journal. Take a look at what your instructor said. If you got 100% on your academic mission statement and all 3 goals, then this is a great opportunity for you to copy and paste and make sure you have your mission in one spot and carry over all 3 goals into question 7. Okay, that is so important. I cannot preface that enough. Now, if you had changes to make, like maybe you were missing something in your mission statement, or maybe you forgot like a due date or the details in your short-term goals, make sure that you make the changes that you were encouraged to make by your instructor. I will tell you, when I grade this assignment, I pull up the week 4 journal assignment and I compare if there were recommendations or changes I would have liked to see to what they submitted here for their final project in week 7. Okay, so just know that. Always remember to, for your goals, make sure you carry over or make sure you have all 3. Short term, due dates, the information. Sometimes students, when they're copying and pasting, they forget a goal or they forget part of their mission statement. So make sure you have all pieces and parts for your success. Question 8, describe the importance of setting goals on your academic journey. Why is it important to you to set goals on your academic journey? Share that information. Question 9, explain how you are going to stay motivated to achieve your goals and mission statement based on what you've learned in SNHU 107. So what have you learned this term that's going to keep you motivated to go after those goals and mission statement? So like this student learned that like they're their biggest motivator. They need a to-do list. They know they have SNHU resources, but they're also doing some like little small rewards to keep them motivated throughout each term or throughout the weeks, okay? Question 10, explain why an awareness of diversity is beneficial in giving and receiving feedback when collaborating with others. Remember week 6 where we talked a lot about feedback. So explain your answer here, your thoughts, your feelings. Question 11, explain why it is important to take ownership, be vulnerable, ask for help, and have an open mind to achieve your goals. Make sure you answer all pieces and parts of that question. And the last question, question number 12, is explain what your biggest takeaway was from this course. So that is like, what is the one thing that you were like, gosh, I'm so glad I learned that, or wow, this really helped me this term. So make sure you name that, share that, but also provide the details for it, okay? That's it, y'all. That is your final project. Again, no new information here. This is all topics and concepts that we have worked on all term. Now you're just connecting the dots and you're putting it all together. I always encourage students as they put this together, If you can work with the academic support written feedback team, it's a wonderful opportunity just to have a second pair of eyes reviewing your work. They usually, this time of term, you'll have feedback within 12 hours or less. It could be a little bit longer than that. I always plan for 24 just in case, or have somebody that's in your world, read it over for you, make sure it makes sense and you have all the pieces and parts, because sometimes when we look at it so much, we might miss something or not understand that we didn't explain something fully. So, use your resources both inside and outside the classroom for your success. Just as a reminder, to find the academic support team, they're right here at the top. Click on academic support and their menu of services will pull up. And right here in the middle is written feedback. Click on submit a draft. And that's where you can upload and submit your rough draft of your project. There's gonna be a little questionnaire that pops up and you can select the most important area or areas you want your tutor to focus on, and then you'll get that targeted feedback back to you. I always encourage students, this is a great time to try using them if you've never worked with our academic support team, especially because this assignment has so many points attached to it for your overall grade. Y'all, that's it. That is all that I have for week 7, module 7. Just a reminder, you have your final project, which is due by Sunday of module 7, week 7, or earlier if you want to turn it in earlier at your convenience. There is a discussion board opportunity, but it is not graded. It's just there if you wanted to give feedback or tips or tricks for other classmates' success. So if anything, remember, this is your final project. This is your thoughts. This is your ideas. You completely got this. So let's get it turned in. Have an amazing week 7.